All right, thank you all for joining us this afternoon on Trenton TV radio broadcast on Trenton Talks. I want to thank our sponsors, WIMG 1300 AM and WPHW Verizon Channel 28. My name is Gerald Trueheart. I'm your host for this afternoon, and I serve as a board member for the Trenton Board of Education. I chair the Family Community Engagement and School Support Committee. I serve along with my fellow board members, Board President Addie Daniels-Lane, board members Denise Johnson, Yolanda Medero-Lopez, on our committee for engagement and school support. I serve also on the policy committee as chair with Teron Tice, Denise Johnson, and Yolanda Medero-Lopez. Also a member of the Human Resources Committee. Yolanda Medero-Lopez is the chair of our Human Resources Committee. Also serve on the Facilities, Buildings, and Grounds Committee, where Jeannie Weeklam is our chair. And we have on the call also this afternoon our Operations and Finance Chair, Mr. Gene Bowie. We want to thank our Superintendent, Mr. James Earl, for his leadership, his support, and his commitment to our school community. And we also want to thank our co-host, Denise Crease, our Parent Coordinator, Homeless Liaison for Trenton Public Schools. So thank you so much, Denise, for being our co-host. And I want to thank all of our attendees on Zoom Live and our Trenton Public Schools Facebook Live page as well. Again, thanking our sponsors, IMG 1300 AM, WIMG, and Verizon Channel 28. We're rebroadcast on radio at 7 p.m. on Tuesday nights on IMG1300AM.com, on Thursdays at 11 on Verizon Channel 28. Catch us on YouTube, our Trenton TV YouTube page, as well as our Facebook Live page on our Facebook page, Trenton Public Schools, which are watching us this evening. We have an exciting broadcast scheduled for you today around board governance. And I want to ask my first question to our board president, Addie Daniels-Lane. Of course, our vice president, Yolanda Medero-Lopez, is also here this evening, and Gene Bowie tonight for this broadcast. Can you share with us, Addie, the structure of our board governance and actually how our board governance works as a board of education here in New Jersey with the New Jersey School Boards Association, and how we're actually structured as a board to operate here in the city of Trenton?
Okay, so good afternoon, and thank you. And certainly I want to echo the welcome extended by Mr. Trueheart in terms of welcoming everyone to the broadcast. And I have had the honor and the pleasure of serving as the board president for the past couple of years. And certainly our school board here operates as we operate as a type 1 school district. Which means that the members of the Board of Education are appointed by the mayor for 3-year terms. And those terms are alternating terms so that all the members do not change at one time. Every 3 years, then 3 members, in fact, have to be reappointed or replaced. And again, that's at the discretion of the mayor. And with this particular school board, we do have 9 members, and currently there are 7 functioning members. We have 2 vacancies. So if you're listening and you're a Trenton resident and you're interested in serving and you have time to commit to the process, then certainly we welcome you to reach out to our mayor and share your credentials and your interest in serving for this particular school board. And so this particular school board operates in terms of committees. And if you were listening earlier, Mr. Trueheart indicated that there are a number of committees and they're chaired by board members. We have operations committee, we have curriculum committee, we have the finance committee, we have the committee that in fact works with facilities and also policy. So there are a number of committees that in fact we work on. A lot of the business that is taken care of, and I forgot the most important one, which is policy, right? And family and community engagement. And so these committees work to examine the proposals that are recommended by our superintendent. The board does not act independently of the superintendent. The board acts on the recommendations of the superintendent, and those particular recommendations are discussed in committee. So when you see us come to the board meeting on Monday nights, usually the third or fourth Monday, we have already, for the most part, discussed most of the material that's coming before the board before we've actually arrived at the meeting. We have 3 to 4 members that sit on the various committees, and then we share the minutes so that everyone is aware of what is actually going on a particular committee, aware of the proposals that are coming before the board. And so again, we work in concert with the superintendent. And I might say that the superintendent is the only employee of the board. The superintendent is the only person that the actual board actually advertises for, screens for, and hires. He is our one employee, and the board acts as one. We cannot speak individually. Even though I am the president, I have to share with the board anything, and they have to authorize my commentary and say it's okay for certain things to be spoken by me as the president. But I cannot act independently of the board, nor can I act independently of the superintendent. So it is a collaborative relationship that we all, in fact, pledge to support. And there is a code of ethics that governs our behavior as a board. So that's just the general overview of the board. And again, when you see us on Monday night, we've already done the work before Monday night. And that's important for folks to understand that the work has already been done. And it does take a commitment in terms of per week. We spend approximately 6 to 8 hours per week dealing with board issues. The superintendent keeps us apprised of what is actually going on within the school system. We meet and have discussions in small numbers. We cannot meet together in a number that exceeds 4, but we do have discussions in terms of within those 4s to make sure that everyone is aware of what is going on in the district. So that's important. And I hope that gives you enough meat to actually go on in terms of what the school board actually looks like and how we function. If I've forgotten something, Gerald, certainly ask me.
Well, I'd like to turn it over to Yolanda, our Vice President, for some comments. As Vice President, Yolanda Lopez, in terms of echoing, I'm sure what Mr. Board President Abigail Lane just shared, and your commentary around school board governance as well.
Yes, what comes to mind is a question that we were asked when I first sat down as a board member. And the question was, how many board members does it take to screw in a light bulb? Does anyone remember the answer? The answer is none. It is not our responsibility to put in any lights. All we have to do is say, let there be lights, and we allow our superintendent to go and research which lighting is best for us, which is the best budget for that lighting, and how will it produce light for us. So that's one of the things that we really need to learn. We need the public to learn that we do not run the district. The superintendent runs the district. What we do is we assure ourselves that the district is being well run. And the only way that can happen is when we are conscious of what our roles are supposed to be. And that is how we have a high functioning district. That is how we're able to get work done. And so I'm happy to say that I believe that this present board has in the past put out a lot of fires, but now we are working well within our role and we are seeing progress made. One of the committees that you did not have to name today because we haven't met in a while is the grievance committee, which I also chair. And it's because of that, because people are going to the persons that need to resolve their problems before it even gets to us, before it even gets to the board. Another reason why our board meetings have been so much more civil. So, I mean, it's not that we all agree on everything, because we do not follow a herd mentality. We say what we need to say, but we disagree in a very respectful way, and we communicate our ideas, and we receive the ideas that others give us, and we weigh the options. What is better for the children of our district, for our teachers, for administrators, and of course, what is best for them will trickle down to our communities, and it's the best thing that we can do. So remember that we as a board do not run the district, 1, and 2, that we need to have a really good working relationship with our superintendent, allowing him to have a really good working relationship with his assistant superintendents and school administrators and teachers, so that the work can be done and we can be successful.
Okay, and if I might just add something that I remember that I did not say, is that board members have to be trained. I mentioned the fact that there is a code of conduct. There is a board of ethics that we have to, in fact, make sure that we complete this ethical statement that we agree to function in a certain way in terms of the code of ethics. But in addition to that, board members have to be trained. And so there are mandatory trainings for board members that each board member has to attend every so often. And of course, there are optional trainings that are offered statewide and also nationwide, because not only is there a New Jersey School Boards Association, but there is a national School Boards Association, as well as a county School Boards Association. And so as members of the Trenton Board of Education, we are authorized to act within those organizations that support education across the board. So I just wanted to throw that in.
Amen. Amen, Addie. Mr. Gene Bowie.
Yeah, brother Gerald. So there was one thing that, and Yolanda sparked it for me. Both Sister Addie and Sister Yolanda were talking about the superintendent being our one employee. It is the responsibility, and by law, we must do an assessment or evaluation of our superintendent once a year. By law, it needs to be completed by the 30th of June. And so what happens is our goals are set in like August and September, and then we actually monitor our performance or the district's performance against those goals through the superintendent updates that he gives us once a week, that we have to spend 2 hours reading. And then by the end of June, we actually have to have evaluated the superintendent based on his performance. So that's one thing that I think is really important. And those goals are driven by the mission. And this is the first time, at least in my 6 years on the school board, where we had a 5-year strategic plan that are driving the things that will be done in support of that mission for the next 5 years. So those are two things that I thought we should really add. I'm excited about. I'm as excited as Sister Yolanda was, because we can actually see the progress. I mean, Brother Gerald, you've been here 7 years. I've been here 6 years. We're like the old timers on the school board. But from during the time that I've been here with you, we've seen incredible progress in the school district. And that becomes I think what's driving that is the support of the board, but also collaboration between the superintendent, his administrators, and the associations and all the staff, right? Because we got one goal, and that goal is the mission of the school district. So, I get kind of charged up just thinking about the work,
No, it's an important work around strategic planning process that's completed our 5-year plan. And one of the things I think around school governance, I wanted to mention in terms of us being as school board members, many people don't recognize or realize that we are also state officials, that we are also community representatives, that we have oversight authority given to us by the New Jersey Constitution. Matter of fact, we have an oath of office that as board members, when we were appointed to the school board, we had to recite an oath of office. And it said in there that we uphold the New Jersey Constitution. We're bound by the legislature. We're bound by the State Board of Education. We're also bound by the New Jersey Department of Education, its rules and regulations. So overall, I mean, we have a responsibility to not only to our community, but to our state and to our city. One of the other key points I wanted to make around school board governance is that we are policymakers, right? So we set the policy so that the superintendent, the chief school administrator, called the CSA, and other terminology for our superintendent, is so that the superintendent can govern we can govern the school district with the policy so that the superintendent can run the school district, and we can ensure that that school district is run well based on the policies that we have in place for our school district. And those policies have to be in compliance with state law and federal regulations. So we have a responsibility to our children, to our families, but also to our state regulations and upholding those federal guidelines, and to our Constitution as well. So I thought that was an important point to make in how we govern, how we are a governing body, a policymaking body that provides the superintendent with direction in accordance with policy, as well as around our strategic plan. Ms. Lane, could you share more information around how our strategic plan was developed? Because that is a big tool, a major tool that we use as a policy tool to ensure that the district is being run well. That strategic plan is so very important. I thought that was an important segue to go into in terms of how we govern the district.
Okay, so so the strategic planning effort began a couple of years ago, and it involved the community. So the strategic plan was broken down into areas to be addressed. And those areas kind of mirrored some of the committee work of the board in terms of taking a look at curriculum, taking a look at operations, thinking about the future, where we need to go in terms of supporting our students to be successful citizens in the future. And so that particular initiative, and basically it was done during the pandemic through Zoom meetings, where again, there was a larger committee that started out. The public was invited to join, and we had enormous participation by the public in the Zoom meetings. They were broken down into committees. People expressed an interest in a particular area. They were assigned to those particular areas to work with a district official, usually one of the assistant superintendents or another actual school leader that was assigned to that particular committee. And then those committees met independently of each other, and they made recommendations. And those recommendations were then put together in terms of a document, and they were actually presented. And some of the community members actually did the presentations for the various committee work that was being done. And so again, that was a large project, took place, I believe, over about a year and a half. And again, all of the community members were invited to attend, and quite a few did. And again, certainly, as the strategic plan was being presented, many community members served as part of the presentation team to actually put it out to the public in general. So I think that that was a very important process, and that particular document ties in with our goals, ties in with our mission, and brings everything together and serves as the guiding document, a living document. Right? So it's not something that can sit on the shelf. It's something that has to be referred to, so that we can make sure that everything that we're doing is aligned and focused on moving our students forward, and therefore moving our community forward.
Thank you so much, Ms. Lane. And I just want to say thank you to all our board members that work so diligently and so hard. And I wanted to share that this is a volunteer job. You don't get paid for being a board member. So I think that's important, that we recognize the time that you spent in trying to make a difference and a change in the lives of the students here in Trenton Public Schools. Now, jumping back to the committees, you mentioned that there's operations, finance, facilities. Who are the members involved besides board members? Who else is involved in these committees? And then I'll go into a question that was asked in Facebook once I received a response.
Okay, so in terms of the committee, so there is a board committee chair, And that particular committee chair works with one of the district officials on the committee. For example, human resources. The board committee chair is Yolanda Marrero Lopez, and she works with Mr. Jim DiDonato, who is the executive director of human resources. The operations committee is chaired by Mr. Gene Bowie. However, he works in conjunction with Ms. Jane Howard, which is the business administrator. And so on that particular operations committee, I serve, Ms. Marrero Lopez serves, Ms. Jeannie Weekling serves on that particular committee, and of course, Mr. Gene Bowie is the chair. And so again, most committees are made up of a district official and a board chair, and some of them are confidential. For example, human resources is a confidential committee because of the nature, involving personnel, salaries, and so on and so forth. And so that committee is more of a closed committee. And of course, the superintendent sits on all the committees. And so that's important to note. Then there is, for example, the facilities committee. Facilities committee is, again, chaired by Jeannie Weekling. However, she works with Dwayne Mosley, who is the head of facilities for the district. And again, a number of members serve on that particular committee alongside her. I serve on that committee. Mr. Trueheart serves on that committee as well. And so again, it's a combination of, and some committees are open to the public for participation. And again, some, because of the confidential nature of the activities and things that have to be discussed, are closed to the public. So does that help you, or you need more?
Absolutely, absolutely. And then Erica Barkley on Facebook asks, is there a parent committee?
So I'm going to say yes, that's the Family and Community Engagement Committee, and that's headed by Mr. Gerald Trueheart. And that's one of the committees that is actually open to the public. And so I'd like Mr. Trueheart to speak to that particular committee. Before, those meetings actually took place in person, but since we've been in the pandemic, most of those meetings have taken place by way of Zoom. But again, Mr. Trueheart, if you could expound on that.
Yes, we meet once a month. We have our representative from the district, Mr. Alfredo Ortiz, who is the Assistant Superintendent of School Support, and the great work that Denise Crease does as a parent coordinator and homeless liaison. We work hand in hand with learning from Denise and Mr. Alfredo Ortiz about the needs of our parents, and actually have been able to meet many of our parents in workshops and Zoom workshops that we've had online because of the pandemic. We haven't had any in-person sessions, but I can share this with you that in the past, we've had sessions where parents would come out and we would sit down and we would just have discussions about how Denise, her department, dealing with the homeless population in our city, dealing with the needs of students, the needs of parents around academic support through Mr. Alfredo Ortiz's office. So we're open to hearing the voices of our parents. Right now, we have a parent leadership academy happening with, I believe it's over 50 or so, 50 each group. There's two groups, one Hispanic group and one English group. And I'm participating in that leadership as a parent of the district, as well as a board member. So there's a lot of open dialogue with our parents and supporting our parents. And Denise can speak volumes to the work that she's doing in her department with the homeless and parent coordination department, and Alfredo Ortiz in terms of school support, which involves the nurse, supervisor of nursing, Micah Freeman, and others around school support, SEL support, social emotional learning, going into the school, supporting the students. So there's so much that we can get into in terms of the discussions that we have. Morgan Glennon, who is just on board as a employee of our district, who's working around communications and our website and social media, really fine tuning and honing around that vehicle of communication with our district. Just got off a committee phone call around data with a lot of our community partners like Mercer Street Friends and Isles and other organizations, Trenton Literacy Movement and other organizations that are coming together and we're asking them, what types of data do you need so that you can be successful in supporting and partnering with our district around our strategic plan and around the needs of our families and the needs of our students. And I'm telling you, they're going through leaps and bounds, sharing we're sharing the data, and they're being able to then take the data, utilize that data in grant writing, getting money into our district to support our families. So there's a lot going on around our family engagement and community engagement. And of course, the TV radio broadcast, right, is a vehicle for sharing that information.
Thank you. A lot going on in the school district. So I guess jumping back into strategic planning, we know that there are 5 goals. Did we want to just kind of break down, maybe go into one and then just have a conversation about it? I'm not sure how much time we'll have, and then we can invite you back to talk a little bit more about some other planning. So I think maybe it's important to talk about facilities and infrastructure. That's one of the goals for our strategic plannings. Did you want to talk about that, Mr. Bowie?
And I'm just pulling it up because I'm a big dreamer and I don't want to be talking out of school. So anyway, so facilities, the facilities portion of the strategic plan resides with Jenny Weekland, but I'm going to try to cover for her right now. So just give me 2 seconds, okay? And since we're on that, as we wait for this to load, when you think about facilities, is ensuring that our children have good, healthy, and safe facilities to attend schools. And it just brings to mind one of the significant accomplishments is that, I don't know how many people are aware, but in 2019, the Trenton School District actually purchased the old Trenton Times building that's on Perry Street for our 9th grade academy. What's really nice about that is that it's a $20 million cash purchase, and we were able to acquire that because our 10th, 11th, and 12th graders were going to the state of the arts high school. And it was important that in preparation for that high school, that our 9th graders had a similar kind of experience. And we actually were able to leverage savings from another effort in saving money for transportation vendors to acquire it. So let's talk about the strategic planning, and I want to go right to facilities. Bear with me 1 second. All right, that's the process. Goal 1, 2, parent community engagement, Brother Gerald, a whole lot of stuff is on your stuff at the bottom. Okay,
Number
great.
5.
So here we go. So the facilities, the goal around facilities is to create a safe and secure environment equipped to deliver 21st century programs to ensure students are prepared to succeed in their choice of college or career. And so that actually supports the mission. And on the website, if you go out to our website, you can actually see the strategic plan for the parents who are really interested. There's a link to it and you can read it, and it's in both Spanish. There you go. It's in both Spanish and English. And so objective number 1, ensure all schools and classrooms have HVAC temperature controlled, including air conditioning and fully functioning windows to support student learning. If you've noticed in our goals for this year, that's one of the objectives, and we're actually aggressively moving toward that. Increase the district's capacity to maintain its aging facilities. And so a lot of people talk about, well, why don't we build new schools? Well, you can't build new schools until you maximize the space in all the schools that you have. And when you think about the reorganization that we're about going through, we're going to be putting students in other schools. And so we might get to the point where we can go to the SDA and actually try to get new schools. Establish community advocacy in the building new facilities. In that effort, we are going to need the support of parents and community stakeholders to actually put pressure on the state of New Jersey to help us with that. And then maximizing the use of existing buildings. So if you think there's a Stokes School, that is an elementary school in the west section. Well, it has been empty for several years, and so we must work to maximize that. And then number 5 is establish district-wide safety and security badge system for all students and staff members, so that we know who's going in the building, who's going out of the buildings. And then lastly, to collaborate with the city of Trenton to establish safe school zones, so that to include student travel, dismissal, traffic flow, crossing guards, and signage. And so if you recall, some of the challenges early this year is that there were not enough crossing guards. And so working with the Trenton Police Department, we've aggressively tried to recruit more. How did I do? And that was fast, huh?
Excellent, excellent. Any more questions in the chat, Denise, and the on Facebook Live from our community?
No, I don't see any so far, so we can keep going. Do you want to cover another goal area?
Okay.
And so,
go ahead,
Mr.
Patty.
Boyd, since you have them up, if you would continue to share, if that would work, because other than that, we'd all have to try to pull it up. So if you continue to share,
I'll keep it up. I'll keep it up.
that would be great. And also, I just want to comment on, what you said concerning the maximized use of our current school buildings. We know that, for the most part, our city population is kind of uneven. And so right now we're overpopulated in the south and the east and underpopulated in certain parts of the west and the north. And so if we could physically take those school buildings that are not being used in the west and sit them over in the south and east, we would be in good shape. However, since we cannot do that, we have to do something else, and that is redistricting so that we can evenly divide our population and provide our students with more opportunities closer to their homes, and put different programs create space so there's opportunities for different programs to be in various schools that are near students' homes. And so again, we do have a challenge in terms of facilities because of the uneven distribution of population here in our cities, which causes, again, some issues in terms of school facilities. Some are oversubscribed and others are undersubscribed. So again, that's an issue that we're dealing with and addressing through the redistricting plan.
Yeah, and this is the.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Brother Gerald.
Yeah, this is our living document that strategically positions us to be successful in educating our students and supporting our parents, right? So Denise, if you go up to I think it's the 14th page, or where the summary of all of our goals are, is up a little further. If you keep going up, it's like keep going up. I want to show and share, I know we can see this on TV, but in terms of radio, we want to share all of our key areas. You actually, yeah, you got it right. Keep going. You actually should be going back up to the top. It's at the very top.
At the top. It's at the
very top. So you can scroll quickly up to the top of the document. So folks on TV will be able to see this, and we'll read those core areas that we have. There we go. Go down one more. You gotta keep going down. Yep.
One more time.
It's down.
It just shows us all the
Stop
work.
right there. There you go.
There you go.
So our areas of focus, and the reason why I wanted to stop here, because I think overall, in terms of our strategic plan, this is our areas of focus that was not done in a vacuum. This was done by steering committees and community engagement all around our district and many of our schools, and asking community members to come out, brainstorm, and share with the district what areas of focus that they felt were important to success, right? Student success. So we have student achievement as one of our areas of the 5 primary areas: community engagement, partnerships, developing the whole child, staff development and well-being, facilities and infrastructure, resources and safety. As rounds out the 5th area of focus. So those are the 5 areas of focus around our strategic plan that informs us and really shares with us the direction that we want to go in terms of the work that's required. So we have initiatives each and every year. So this is the first year of the strategic plan. There's initiatives, objectives, and initiatives within each of these goal areas that we are focused on that direct the work that's required of us in our district. And so I think the superintendent also, in his updates to us on a weekly basis, he shares with us by goal area the activities and the initiatives that are happening within our district, so we're well informed of the actions that are taking place to accomplish these goal areas in our initial first year of our strategic plan, which is a 5-year plan through 2026. So I thought that was important to mention as well. So Addie?
Yeah, so absolutely. And so number one, and I'm just going to say this. So number one, the number one goal is, of course, student achievement, right? Because every district has to be focused on student achievement. And certainly we have had some challenges in this particular area. And we know that having had almost 2 years of remote learning certainly did not help matters. Right. And so we have to be focused and make sure that the district leadership, and of course they are focused on student achievement and figuring out ways to address what has been identified as a certain amount of learning loss that occurred in a number of students because of the virtual learning that took place for 2 years. That was quite an almost 2 years. That was quite an adjustment. And so again, it added to the challenge of raising student achievement. So right now, I think the board, the superintendent, our assistant superintendent for teaching and learning, we are all focused on student achievement. How do we move our students forward? How do we address the learning loss that has taken place over the last, and I'll say 19 to 20 month period? How do we address that? How do we bring our students up to the level so that they can be competitive with other students? And so all of our efforts in these areas have to support student achievement. It has to be the number one focus. We have to move students. And I think at this particular point, we are probably in the best position that we've been in years in terms of doing that. And so certainly, if all of our attention, all of our efforts is focused there, we should start to see results. And I think the superintendent, in fact, will begin to share that things are certainly on the upswing, because we know that the state testing did not take place in the year and a half or so of the pandemic. And so there are other measures that were put in place to, say that students were prepared to graduate and so on and so forth. However, we want our students to be able to meet those same levels of achievement that the state puts out, and that we will in fact be subject to again this year, since we have been in-person learning. And so certainly we have to make sure that our students are focused, our teachers are focused, our administrators are focused, and they are. And in fact, strategies are being put in place to support our students, and that whole focus in terms of parents, because students cannot succeed without their parents. And so the focus on having the parents prepared to support the students is a wonderful initiative. So I just wanted to say that about student achievement, that is the number one goal for a school district, is in fact seeing our students achieve and become successful.
I mean, we asked for a 5-year strategic plan. So this was an initiative that was initiated by our school board. We brought in the New Jersey School Boards Association to support our strategic planning initiative. So this was an initial initiative that was started by this school board and accomplished with a 5-year strategic plan. I think this speaks volumes to the role of our Board of Education to see that our school district is well run, right? So we're providing the tool of a strategic plan to our superintendent, Mr. James Earl, to have a guidepost or a guiding document that reflects the will of our community, that reflects the will of our district employees, that reflects the will of our district administrators, our board. And we all had buy-in, and we all had input to this strategic plan that now allows our district and allows us as board members to see that our district is well run. Yolanda?
No, I was, everything we've said is spot on. We are looking towards the future. We don't want to be putting out fires. We want to be proactive in helping our children achieve the success that they need in order to fulfill the vision and the mission of the district. It is important for us to understand that when we speak of student achievement, for example, we're speaking about facilitating this to the students and to the teachers curriculums that will help them to be on level in their reading and their math and other subjects. When we speak about developing the whole child, which is another goal of ours, we're speaking to the sign of our times. It is unfortunate that our children have to come to school, and many of them have been traumatized by experiences that they are living in their neighborhood due to the poverty and the economic situation that we find ourselves in because of the crime and so forth and so on. So we are being proactive in helping our children now so that they can become productive adults later on. We don't want to wait until they're young men and women in order to help them. We need to do so now. And it is important for our community to be aware of this and for them to participate and to, for example, go on our website and find all this information. And if they have any questions, they're more than welcome to come to the FACE meetings. They're more than welcome to shoot out an email to one of us or to the superintendent. Someone will answer their questions. This is something that we all need to work together in order to accomplish all the work that needs to be done.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Yolanda. One of the things that I wanted to share was that in terms of board membership, our overall responsibility is for and to our district students, as Yolanda mentioned, and Addie Daniels Lano board president so eloquently mentioned, that every one of our policies that we approve and every action that we take, it must be based on what is best for the education of those students. Gene?
Yeah, no, I was just sitting here. What's really interesting is that I was just sitting here and thinking about all the work that we've done over the years, how it maps to this strategic plan, to the components of it. And, just one comes to mind. So I don't know if families know that since I got on the board, and brother Gerald, you were here, we had 9 schools that came out of status. And what that means that they're no longer under the oversight of the Department of Education. That's collaboration. This all goes to student achievement. That's collaboration between administrators and teachers and parents to drive that number. Also, it's really so. The school districts are assessed through through their quality performance, and in the quality area of curriculum, the school district went from a low of 27% and on an 80% goal, a 27% in 2017 to right now we're at 70%. And so all of that, aligning curriculum with the standards by which our children are being measured, is really important. And the thing for me, children, when they see themselves in their education, they perform better. And so the Trenton School District implemented in 2018, I think it was, alignment with the Amistad Act, which says that African-American history has to be taught in all public schools. It's a law that went into effect in 2002. And so those kind of things drive student achievement. And so there's only one more thing that I'd like to mention, and it's really important. When you think about student achievement and infrastructure, last year, the Trenton Public School System was awarded a grant to invest in overhauling the entire technology infrastructure. And it was an anonymous donor that actually gave the school district almost $800,000 to be doled out over 3 years to improve the infrastructure for learning, so that technology maps to these to our structure. So those are just 3 things that come to mind that align with this strategic plan. And it just shows that the school district, even in spite of having multiple superintendents, the board has consistently driven student success and progress for our school district. So
absolutely, Gene. I think those are just a few of the accomplishments that the board has accomplished over the last several years. And it's all about our relationship, right? Our relationship with our chief school administrator, which is our superintendent, Mr. James Earl. And that speaks to a critical factor that determines how well our school district operates. And I'm sure on a weekly basis, we receive our updates, but also our board president is speaking as our board president on behalf of our board, authorized by us to speak to our superintendent on a weekly basis to get updates and share information that she can share then with us as a board. And it's that relationship, board president Addie Daniels-Lane, that's so very important that you've been able to foster with not only Mr. James Earl, our superintendent, but our past superintendent. And could you share with us the relationship that you have with Mr. James Earl and how well that relationship is moving forward our district as he implements our strategic plan in our district, Mr. Addie Daniels-Lane?
Yeah, so certainly I can do that, but I just want to say one thing about one of the goals that talked about staff development and professional learning. We know that our students cannot learn without their teachers, right? We know that parents are critical partners, but our staff, they are the ones that deliver that direct instruction. And so certainly a goal of ours that is very important to us is that we support staff. Right? We know that children in the pandemic have been traumatized, staff members have been traumatized. And so certainly one of the goals had to be to support staff and also make staff, give them opportunities to in fact strengthen their skill set in terms of how to address students where they are now. With a new focus on social emotional learning, part of that focus on the whole child, so that we can in fact really have a focused system that's supporting our staff, and our staff is supporting our students, and we're engaging our parents. So all of that works together to, in fact, promote student achievement. So I just want to throw that in. But in terms of the relationship with the, with the superintendent, and so even though technically the superintendent is our one employee, and technically we are his boss as a group. We are his boss, not one-on-one, but as a group. We are, in fact, again, the superintendent reports to the board. And so certainly there are conversations that take place with, board members and so on and so forth. And so that, when I have my conversations with the superintendent, I'm speaking also to board members just to make sure that we're all aligned in terms of where we're going. And so it's been very important to establish collaborative relationships with, unfortunately, we've had a lot of turnover in the superintendent's seat, right? And right now, I think we're poised to hold on to our superintendent. We are poised. He is committed and we are poised. And I think that collaborative relationship, being able to have those conversations about student achievement, the real conversations, where are we? What are the challenges? What are the things that we're doing to address those challenges? And unfortunately, sometimes we have to talk about the critical events of the week, right? If there is a quote unquote fire that needs to be put out, how is he putting out that fire that's aligned to the policies and the thoughts of where the board believes that we should be going, right? So sometimes it's a strategic conversation, right? To make sure that all of the things that we're talking about is aligned to the strategic plan and the district goals. So on a weekly basis, we have those conversations. We talk about, curriculum. We talk about staffing. What staffing needs do we think might impact on our success for the future? How can we look at staffing that's going to support our facilities? We know that there was a big push for extra custodial help in the pandemic because certain things had to be sanitized, certain things had to be put in place. And so those conversations, looking ahead to the future in terms of what do we need to support a successful student and to make our district successful as a whole. So again, those conversations take place on a weekly basis. They're collaborative. Even though there's a one-on-one conversation with myself and the superintendent, there's also the backward conversation that involves the board members as well, so that again, we're all aligned and not moving in different directions. We're all moving in the same direction. So that is critical, that the relationship is collaborative and that it's focused on the goals and the mission of the district and the strategic plan in terms of moving us forward. So I hope that answers the question. If not,
No,
tweak me.
absolutely, Addie. One of the things that I wanted to share just very, very quickly is in your tenure as board president, you ushered us from one superintendent to the next superintendent, a smooth transition with the help of our chair of that committee, Teron Tice, that you appointed as chair to usher us through the transition to our new superintendent, Mr. James Earl, which I think we made the best decision that we could have ever made in our lives to move forward with someone who loves our district, loves our children, loves our families, loves our students, loves our staff, and is here. His heart is here, not just his mind, but his heart is in this for our students to be successful all across our district. And so when we speak about our chief school administrator as our implementer of our goals and policies, our strategic plan, I want all of us to speak to how we must trust in our superintendent. We have respect for his or her professional training experience. We have to have confidence in his or her ability to administer the district. And any requests in terms of recommendations are always under discussion in our board committees. I mean, so we're always in constant communication, and that really speaks to that relationship that we've all established with Mr. James Earl, our superintendent, but also it speaks to testimony to the work that you and Teron and the overall board did to transition to our superintendent, Mr. James Earl. And we're looking forward to an awesome opportunity to move our district forward, and we see evidence
Absolutely.
of that as we speak. So that's so the question is, what do you see as agreement to the trust factor and how our school superintendent is the implementer of our district's policies, our strategic plan? Can open question? Can one of us speak to that?
Yeah, so I'm just so excited because
Dean and then Addie.
If you recall, I think Addie, you're the only one who's on this note. When we received this previous week's update, I actually sent a note of how the progress that the district is seeing and how he laid that stuff out for us. Like, to me, that's a clear example of us being aware of not only the good, but when you think about where we're looking to go, because we've been forward thinking, just his work speaks volumes. And that last update just said it all for me. I was sitting in my office tickled. I was really, really tickled about that progress. So I'm sorry, I just had to squeeze that in, Addie. I'm still tickled about it.
Addie, and then Yolanda.
Okay, absolutely. So now I just wanted to say that, in terms of, I am proud of the work that we have done as a board. And I'm just going to say that because, as you said, with so many changes in terms of the superintendent's seat, we have been able to adjust and keep the one superintendent informed of the direction that we were moving in previously and connect all the dots, right? And keep moving forward. And I think that is so important, as you said, because of all the changes there. And so things weren't left beside, there was continuity, even though there was change. And so I'm proud of the work that the board has been able to do because of the fact that even with change, we have been able to continuously move forward. And that's what I wanted to say, that, this board really is near and dear to my heart because, again, we've been able to, pandemic or no pandemic, we have been able to work together and keep things moving. I noticed that, a lot of people did a lot of work during the pandemic that they did not expect to have to do, and they did it. And certainly we appreciate that. And the district kept afloat and kept moving forward despite all those things that were occurring. And again, that's because of the fact that we were able to keep everything moving and keep folks aligned to the true mission of health, safety, and education of our students. So I just needed to say that. Yolanda?
Yes, I wanted to emphasize on something that Gerald just said. He mentioned trust. One of the key factors in our success right now, because I say we are being successful. I mean, it's unfortunate that the reading levels, math levels are not at the point where we want them to be. And it is unfortunate that there was some learning loss because of the pandemic. However, We are grateful that we have been able to build on the trust that has developed and it all goes down to knowing what our role, our responsibilities are. We ask the superintendent to help us with our vision and mission for the district, and he will come up with recommendations. Then we vote whether we accept or not those recommendations. And sometimes we may not agree, but we allow the majority to rule. And so that is why almost at all times we will vote unanimously. We are not a divided board. We have come, when I got in, I remember when I came in, I was absolutely floored that our CUSAC in curriculum was a 27. It was really depressing. It was really sad. But I was overjoyed to know that we got a 70, and it's because that was the highest we were allowed to go up to. But we really could have done more, but because of the way governance is structured, they only allowed up to 70%. So, people will not see everything we're doing because we're just doing our work. We're not out to make a name for ourselves. We're not out to say we are working as just the board. No names, so to speak. It's the Board of Education working towards the fulfillment of the success of our children, because that, as Gerald said, is our major concern. And so I am happy to be a part of this board also, because we are working together. We have built trust, and because of that trust, we have been able to do the work that we need to do. And we've been able to encourage our superintendent, and he has, thank goodness, corresponded in the same way with us. So, nobody's going to toot our horn, so we're going to do it ourselves. We're doing a good job. We receive acknowledgement or not, it's okay. Many times we will be talked down to, but we're going to maintain a level of professionalism. We are not going to go back and forth with our community. We are leaders, and as leaders, we understand that the buck stops here. And even if we're not at fault, we will accept responsibility for that which we could have controlled and did not. So to our community, we're here to serve you. We are here to represent you. And once again, whatever you need from us, all you need to do is just shoot out an email.
I want to thank all of our board members for tonight's broadcast. We covered a lot of territory tonight. We have also, just so our listening audience knows and our viewing audience knows, we have two more broadcasts planned around school board governance and strategic planning. One scheduled for Tuesday, April 12th, and the next one scheduled for Tuesday, June 14th. So stay tuned for those two broadcasts, but of course, with other exciting news from our district as we continue our broadcast every Tuesday. Now, tonight we covered several areas. We covered the role of the board members and the superintendent. We covered the board members as representatives of our community, state government. We covered the chief school administrator as the implementer of our policies and of our strategic plan and of our goals to accomplish in our district. We talked about a board superintendent collaboration and partnership. Three things we did not get to tonight that we'll get to on our next few broadcasts in April and June is our responsibility around budget development, our responsibility around staff hiring and retention, our responsibility around board members as community representatives. And I think Yolanda hit the point well tonight about us receiving communication and being the representative of the community on our board. I like what you said also, Yolanda, said, as Michelle Obama said, they go low, we go high. And so we're not going to allow that to deter our progress in what we're doing in our district. So we're just about out of time, but wanted to give just a few minutes of closing comments to everyone. We'll start with Jean, Yolanda, and then Addie. Just 1 minute. We got really short on time. We got about 5. So we can each give a minute. We'll close out on time. We'll start with Jean. Jean?
Yeah, so this, I'm really honored to have the opportunity to be here. I'm honored that we could speak directly to families because we are their advocates for the education of their children. I have 3 great-grandchildren that attend Trenton Public Schools. I would lastly say that if you want to know more about the school board, who's serving on the school board, if you go to the district's website, you can actually see the bios of the different school board members. So get to learn who's serving you. I think because we are in the service of you and your children. So God bless y'all.
I am going to revert to Spanish.
Okay.
Si hay algún oyente que es bilingüe, yo les suplico que por favor busque a las personas de habla español que no están activos porque no entienden el inglés y díganle que estamos ahora transmitiendo las reuniones de educación en español y estamos trabajando para que en el futuro sea una realidad dentro del auditorio en el 108 de la North Clinton Avenue. Por favor, involúcrese en su escuela. Hay unas organizaciones para padres y maestros trabajar en conjunto para el bien de sus hijos. Sea parte del PTO. Es importante. Y si no hay uno, atrévase y comience usted el programa en su escuela. Thank you to those that were listening. I was just giving a shout out to our Spanish-speaking community, hoping that they will be able to become even more involved, because what we need is unity for the benefit of our children.
Before we go to our board president, just our co-host Denise, just give us a sentence or two, just closing out, and then we'll allow our board president to close out our broadcast for this evening. So in that order, thank you so much. God bless you.
Thank you so much. This was such a great conversation to have in regards to governance of our school district and the roles that you play in our school district. And I think the theme that I'm hearing here is that parents, your voices count, your voices are heard, you can be involved. The website that I have up here is of the Board of Education members. You can directly send communications to them. You can view their biographies. So continue to do what you're doing, because being a parent is a job in itself. So we thank you for all that you do for our children. So thank you for just sharing all this wonderful information.
And I'm sorry I was in the dark. I didn't realize it.
Go ahead. You're up, Addie.
Okay.
Close us out. Take us home, Addie.
Okay, so certainly I want to echo a phrase that many folks have heard before, and that is, it takes a village, right? And so certainly it takes a village working cooperatively and knowing what the mission is and setting strategic steps that are actually going to help us to be able to achieve our mission. And again, that mission has to be reflected in our goals and in our strategic plan. And so certainly, you know, we acknowledge the role of the community in terms of being part of that village, the educators, the administrators, of course, the school board members, and all of those that lead the district. But most importantly, our student is the center. Our students, our children are the center of that village, and all of the pieces and parts and people are here to support and encourage our students. And I think that as long as we keep that in focus, then that in fact will lead us to the success that we're looking to have. And so those are my final words. And again, it takes a village, and thank you all for listening and in fact being interested in what this village is planning. So thank you.
Thank you.
Everyone have a great night. God bless you. God bless you.
All right, thank you.